There is a massive controversy going on right now, and a lot of people aren't talking about it. Some people aren't talking about it because they're afraid. I'm not going to lie, I'm afraid to make this video as well, especially since you're bad mouthing Google and you're doing this from YouTube, which is owned by Google. And other people don't want to talk about it because it doesn't fit the narrative. So, what happened is that Project Veritas, as we can see here, has uncovered with hidden camera footage people working at Google saying that they don't want a Trump 2020. They explain how they're manipulating the algorithm and how they are trying to use their company in order to influence the elections. Now, last time something even remotely similar happened with Cambridge Analytica and Facebook, two private companies which can do whatever they want, was a massive scandal. It was so massive that the European Union is forcing every website that's operating in the EU to ask consent from people regarding data and information gathering before you use the website. And it's very annoying. Like if you live in Europe, you're going to know every time you go on a website, it's going to like, this website is gathering cookies. Do you accept? And you click yes, yes, yes. And after visiting 100 websites, it's getting really annoying. While other websites like the LA Times, I believe, which couldn't get in line with these types of regulations, don't operate at all in the EU. You have to install a VPN if you want to browse them. So my point is that all of a sudden, massive scandal, right? Data, privacy, and it goes to the Russians. The Russians are using social media to interfere with elections. Ooh, the Russians. And now that you have like the actual corporation, Google, saying, yeah, we're going to interfere with the elections, and they're caught on a camera, crickets. I like crickets, especially from the left. Now, of course, the person which was caught with the camera is saying that it was taken out of context, that the video was edited. Maybe that's the case, but you think that is something to look there. You think that it is at least something interesting to report. And the video released by Project Veritas on YouTube was also removed, obviously. I think they're going to get into the way of Alex Jones soon. Now, the reason I'm making this video is that I want to talk to Tim Pool. He's probably watching this, and I like your content, Mini Beanie. I love watching your videos every day. They're very informative. I like your takes. But I don't want beef with you because I think you're a crazy person. You're insane. The reason I'm saying this is that you make 6 videos. How can you make six videos a day? Like that is crazy. All right. Now he doesn't edit them, so it's not that the workload is that high. But to talk about the doom and gloom every single day from the culture where it's probably going to affect your mind a little bit. Like I'm making 1-2 videos a day and it's enough to get you depressed every now and then, you know? The guy makes 6 videos. But anyway, right, let's go to one of his takes, which I vehemently disagree. Vehemently, that's the word for the day. See, I'm Romanian, I'm trying to study English. Every now and then a new word. YouTube recommendations are a privilege and not a right. See, this is what I disagree with. And I will tell you why. If I go out and I purchase something, I don't know, what should we purchase? Cat food, okay? When you look at the can of cat food, it tells you the ingredients that the food is made out of. And it has to actually be the ingredients on the label. Same with this poison, the magic elixir that I like. Just managed to find out it's shipping in Romania. My God, I've been missing it all these years of my life and I didn't know. But it has ingredients here on the box, you see, because it's in English, it actually has a sticker with Romanian on it, so that Romanian people are aware what's inside, okay? So where am I going with this? Like, companies have to be upfront about what they are doing. The lawmaker decided in the spirit of the law to have the consumers informed of what is going on. And otherwise, it's what we call a deceptive practice. An example of a deceptive practice is what used to happen when cinema was a new thing. They did this experiment where they would send subliminal messages within movies. So you would have the movie, and for a split second, you would have a commercial for ice cream. It was like people enjoying ice cream. And it would go so fast that the human eye wouldn't notice it. But apparently, subconsciously, people who are watching the movie would consume a lot of ice cream from that cinema the same day. So they had like record sales on ice cream. And it's because of these subliminal messages that were put in the movies by a private company which could do everything they wanted. And apparently it was manipulating people without knowing. And the lawmaker decided against these practices. They said, well, no, it's not fair. Another example would be when Facebook decided to make a social experiment by targeting different ads to different peoples, right? And it was a massive scandal back then. It was like, well, you know, they're doing this unhanded tactics. It's not ethical, basically, right? So it's not that it's against the law right now. They can obviously do whatever they want, but my point is that it's deceptive. And how is it deceptive? Now, this isn't about YouTube. It's pretty much all social media right now that's doing this. So if you go on Twitter trending, for example, or on YouTube trending, the mind of the consumer is that this is a natural trend. It's basically like the topics that people find popular. When in reality, it's not always the case. We know from Twitter that certain hashtags, which are very popular, but sometimes are against the leftist status quo or the narrative, they simply get taken off. They get taken off the list, right? And when you have other hashtags, which barely manage to become popular, they get put up on the list. There is a YouTuber which made a study, and unfortunately I don't know his name. If anyone knows the channel, please give it into the comment sections. Where they look at people that talk about the news, people like Tim Pool, like Rubin, people like Crowder, even PewDiePie. And what they found out is very interesting. How can a video from Tim Pool, for example, reach YouTube trending? And apparently what they found out is that independent content creators recently never managed to reach YouTube trending, even though they have millions of views. Someone like PewDiePie, for example, he's not going to make the trending list often within the United States. However, a video from CNN that has 20,000 or 30,000 views, that can go up on trending. So apparently the rules are different for authoritative sources. They only need to hit a very low bar so that their video goes into trending, while someone like Tim Pool, for example, would have to make a video that's really viral for it to go into trending. So what is my point with this? Well, it's not really trending, is it? Like, it should be called YouTube promotes. Like, they should be upfront about it. That's my point. It should be transparent so that people actually understand and actually know that this is what YouTube wants people to see. And people shouldn't think that this is what's popular. This is what's actually going on. It's like, oh, this is what everyone on the platform, right? Like average Joes like me happen to like this video, so that is now trending. Because that's not the case. Another example of manipulation, which was talked about in the Veritas video, is the Google search engine. Now, the way the search engine works, and if you would ask anyone on the street right now, you ask them, what do you think the autocomplete is? Most people will say, well, it's obviously the results that are most common sought for. So the most frequent search results is what autocomplete does. It's not doing that though, right? So if you go for men can, for example, you get this. Men can have babies, men can get pregnant, men can have periods, men can have babies now, men can cook, and men can think about nothing. This is artificial. This is what someone at Google wants you to see. These aren't what people are looking for, but you can definitely think, if you use the mindset that these are the most often search results, that society as a whole is now on board with social justice, and everyone is looking for these, everyone is getting informed, and you should too. So it's very interesting. Right now, if you go, for example, women can. You get women can vote, women can do it, women can do anything, women can fly, women can be drafted. And it's very easy to point out that this is ridiculous because everything is positive, all right? It's like the first Matrix. It didn't work because people didn't accept it to be true because it was too good. It was too perfect. It was too flawless. So let's go on another search engine that we know doesn't pull this shit. So if you go on DuckDuckGo and you go women can, you will see the same, but it's like women can preach, women can't drive, women can change the world, women can't find men to marry. So it's a mixture of positive and negative things that people search for, and this is realistic. Like I am definitely inclined to believe that this is not manipulated by a certain algorithm. And what it's really comes down to is transparency. There needs to be a label on the box that informs people of what's actually in the box. Because as I mentioned before, most people think that the search results are naturally created, that this is what happens, that the overwhelming majority of people search for, or that the recommended videos are chosen randomly by an algorithm with things that this is what you would like to see. In reality, however, the search results are what the company wants you to look for, and the recommended videos are now moving towards what the company wants you to look at. So people need to be informed. And an example by Project Veritas in the video is that if you Google for CEOs, even though most of the CEOs happen to be men, the results are going to give you 50% female CEOs and 50% male CEOs. And the reason Google does this is because they are trying to push for what they consider to be fairness, which in reality is a dog whistle of trying to socially engineer people in order to think into the same fairness that they do. Because in reality, it is unfair. It is unfair not to tell people that you are actually pushing this on them and having them to think that, no, this is organic, this is normal growth. And it goes into social engineering. There was an experiment done quite recently. I made a video and I talked about it, where a couple of social justice activists were upset that there aren't more interracial families. Now, why do they concern themselves with who people decide to love and who people want to marry? I don't know. But they didn't like the fact that there aren't a lot of interracial families. So what they did is they started shaming OkCupid into being more progressive. So OkCupid actually switched their algorithm, which is supposed to tell people how compatible they are with others, and decided to lie on people and say that, if it was a person of a different race, it would have now a bigger compatibility score in order to try to get people to hook up. And what the experiment shows is that, now a lot of people have started hooking up with interracial partners because of the change in algorithm. Unfortunately, the experiment didn't follow to see if that relationship is going to last as much or less than relationships that were done before, when the algorithm was actually trying to find compatibilities rather than push a social agenda. We'll never know. But what is interesting is that these types of manipulations and these types of underhanded tactics, we know from the past that the lawmakers don't like this. And I don't think people in general like this, because when Facebook tried to push certain ads on people, they didn't like it. So they need to be upfront about it. Of course, social media does have a right to promote whomever they want, but if they do so, they should be clear that it's not a organic promotion, that is not what actually people are looking for, and in reality is what the company wants you to see. And they will never admit to this because, number one, it goes against the plan, right? Like, if you want to influence people in a certain way, if they don't know that it's you who are trying to influence them, they're going to be more likely to be influenced. And number two is because, for legal reason, it pushes them more and more into the boundaries of publishers. Like, they are starting to publish things rather than being a platform. And this is very dangerous to our democracy.